Welcome to the Second Time Around podcast with LaShawn and Michaela Mims, a weekly conversation about love, life, and marriage from the perspective of a couple who are taking the journey a second time around.
But I thank God in all I lost, I found you. As I give you this ring, just know you're my greatest blessing. All the good and the bad will make this love true.
Hey family, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to you. This is the Second Time Around podcast. We are so blessed to have you once again. I am part of your hosting team. My name is LaShawn Mims, pastor, the husband, the grandfather, the friend.
Yes.
I got a lot of more titles, but right now they're not necessary. And I am, like I said, one half of your podcasting team. The other half is my lovely best friend, wife, Michaela Mims. Tell them about yourself, baby.
I'm a wife to Pastor LaShawn Mims. I am a mama. I am a Mimi to my 3 boos. I love y'all. Mimi loves you so much. And I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist in Elk Grove, California. I'm in private practice here. And I am one half of the hosting team for the Second Time Around podcast. So what do we talk about on this podcast, Mr. Mims?
Yes, our podcast is about life, love, and family. But today we wanted to talk to you, so you can join in on this conversation about marriage myths, what we have unlearned. Yeah, so many times we are faced with myths about marriage. I think in my first marriage, I can only speak for myself. I'm sure my wife will be able to speak for herself also. Let me just go ahead and call them lies that people told about what you can do, what you should do, what you better do, and what you bet not do. And today we wanted to just talk about that. If it was just basically to be your church community, your culture, your society, or just past relationships dictated to you, the things that you did going into a marriage. I know that family has a lot to do with the way that we interact with others. Today, we just wanted to share that with you. We just wanted to talk about it. Let's break it down. Michaela, was there any things when you going into marriage in that first marriage where you were just like somebody said, hey, bloopy bloop bloop bloop, and put you on what they thought was game?
Said that, but they said some stuff. I'll be honest with you, honey. I didn't grow up in what in my field we would call an intact home. It's odd because I had a parent, but I didn't grow up with 2 parents that were married. I didn't even grow up with 2 parents that were like remotely together. They weren't at odds, but they just weren't together. And I think one of the biggest myths that I grew up with was that marriage was easy. And that was absolutely positively.
Farthest from the truth, huh? Farthest from the truth.
Listen, as far as the East is from the West, that's how untrue that was. But yeah, the amount of energy and emotional investment that you have to make in a marriage, the amount of sacrifice that you have to make. And I was really young when I got married, so I didn't halfway know myself. So I certainly didn't know much about marriage. But I think that's the big thing I got. And it wasn't that one person told me that. It was like the messages that I got around me, TV, just watching other people and not being exposed to the harder side of marriage. So that would be what it is for me.
Yeah, for me, coming from a dual parent household, I had the privilege of having both of my parents living together and being married. A lot of my outlook on things came from both of them being together. I can agree with you. I thought it was easy because the way they was doing it, oh man, they ain't never know. There ain't that many arguments. I'm not going to have that much trouble if I just stand up and be this guy like my dad. Ain't nothing else going to happen. Can I just tell you? Lie, lies, lie. Okay, so it just didn't work out like that. One of the things that, talking about it being easy, if it's from God, it's easy. Oh, Lord, who said that?
First of all, who said it was from God?
Right. And that's something that you got to come to. I had to come to that.
Myself out on that. I'm sorry.
You know what? There are times where we try to put the person that we're with or the person that we want to connect. I found I got to a time after me and my first wife separated and later divorced that I was like, well, God, why didn't it work out? And God was like, because that ain't what I put together. You put that mess together. You put that puzzle, that old Gorilla Glue stuff together. That wasn't me.
What was that? That gave you over to a reprobate mind? Is that what you did?
You did that. I didn't do that. Who said I was in that?
I can just
You
the Lord up there giving
got
the sign.
you got your nerve trying to put me in some mess. Who said I was in that?
Listen,
That's what you wanted.
That. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
you shouldn't go too far on that.
let's just keep it at that. There are times when we are trying to piece stuff together because we want it together. God ain't put no stamp on that.
Nope.
What's another one, man? Love should be in there. Just because I love you, we should be able to go through years together. And then, no, ma'am, no, sir, you're not going to be able to. You can love somebody, but that ain't go. But you can still not have a mortgage or rent. You know what I'm saying? You still can get a 3-day notice.
You know what? I'm done. I think I'm finished. Podcast over.
You can be loved and unhoused. Let's just be honest. You can be loved with one car that don't run.
Ooh, you're crazy.
That is not going to save your marriage because you love one another.
My darling, can we go back to just the truth of if it's from God, it'll be easy? Can we just go back to that? Because the reality of that is because God has ordained it doesn't mean that it's not going to be effortless. It's not going to take some input. It's not going to take some work. I think this marriage is, now this might sound crazy. This might get my sister card revoked, but I'm going to say it anyway because I don't care. I think that going through those first experiences was a blessing on the back end because what it showed me is this is work. You do have to be very committed. You have to be very intentional. You have to be in prayer for you, for your spouse, for your relationship. In our situation, for your children that you bring into the marriage, for the development and growth of you as an individual, your spouse as an individual, and the marriage and the family as a whole. So I do think that our marriage is touched by the Most High, but that doesn't mean that our marriage has not had testing. But I do think it was first, let me speak for myself. That first experience matured me because I went so long between the first marriage and the second marriage because I felt like it was me, but I realized that it wasn't just me, it was us. And I think in this marriage, because it is, I do think that the Lord very much so intended for us to be together. I think that because of that, the lesson that I've learned, what a truth is about marriage is, it takes work. It really does. It takes work and commitment. Okay, your thoughts on that? I just want to go back to that.
I agree with you on that. It does take work. It does take having tools. You've got to have some tools in a marriage and what you're doing. You can't just come to a marriage tool list. Just can't.
On tool, right?
Yeah, untool. You got a toolbox full of nothing. Them tools don't work.
You did.
What I'm saying. You open the toolbox, you got stuff, you got pipe cleaner, but what is that gonna change? It don't do nothing.
Or maybe you have like Phillips.
You got the wrong tools for, no, come on.
Oh, Lord,
What are you
can't do that.
doing?
You need a power drill. You just got a Phillips or a butterfly. You
got a pair of vice grips and you that's an inside joke that I can tell you one time. I'm going off script for a minute, but my grandfather, for my birthday one time, bought me a pair of vice grips. And I thought vice grips fixed everything. I was using them vice grips on everything. Vice grips will hold two things together. Vice grips will take off nuts and bolts. Vice grips will do everything. So vice grips was my only tool that I had in my possession, and it worked for everything.
Don't go get no vice grips for your relationship.
So when I say all you had was a pair of vice grips, that's basically talking about my grandfather bought me vice grips when I was a kid. I don't know why I asked for them, but he bought them for me. All right, come on, let's move on.
You were spoiled. That's also an inside joke. You didn't get treated the way the other cousins got treated.
Let's move on.
Little
All
birdie
right.
told me that. What do you think you need? If love should be enough is the myth, then what's the truth?
The truth is that you need tools. You need grace. The Father, Jesus, God gives us grace. That is the reason why we have been redeemed as Christians, because the Father saw grace. He bestowed grace on us.
Thank you, Lord.
Our sinful past should have been our end. But God, in his mercy and his grace, said, you know what? No, I'm going to send my only begotten son to die for you. And as Christians or as followers of Christ, we need to have that tool in our tool case, grace. We don't give people grace as much as we should, or we don't give the ones that we love. That may be your husband, your boyfriend, or your kids, or whatever. We don't give them grace like we should.
Facts. Okay.
Another tool we need to have is be able to listen. Nobody wants to listen anymore. Everybody want to talk. If two people talk at the same time, you hear nothing. It doesn't work. We just throwing voices off the wall. So you have to be willing to listen and willing to have mature communication. Ooh, that's another one. That's a hard one right there, is communication. If you have not studied communication or have not been an active user of mature, remember that word right there, mature.
Why you looking at me like that? Mature?
No, I'm not looking at you. I'm just saying, I'm looking past you. I'm looking over your head.
Oh, now you calling me short.
No. No. You know what I'm saying? Men and women think that communication is just a very small thing. And that's not true. Your communication in the way that you come across is very powerful.
Can I put my therapist hat on?
Sure.
Communication is a two-way street, yes? And there's so many pieces to communication that people don't always factor in, right? You have nonverbal communication skills, which include facial expressions, body language, eye contact, or the lack thereof, right? So those are your nonverbal communication skills. And then you have what we call active listening and then reflective responses, right? So active listening means I am listening for understanding, so I can form my rebuttal to what you have to say. I'm listening for understanding and to provide love, respect, and empathy, even if we still don't agree on the subject from my partner. So that's very important. And then one of the ways we do that is by reflecting back to our spouse what we heard them say. So if you said, I'm going to the store to buy eggs. Now, my husband don't like eggs. So if he's going to the store to buy eggs, he's going to buy them for me. But the point of that is to say, okay, so you're going to go to the store and you're going to pick up some eggs. Yes. Okay, great. So then I know that what he's saying is what he said. And then he knows that I have received and understood what he said. So I think that part of it is good. And then also, not just because I'm the therapist, but man, therapy is so important in a relationship because, and I advocate for it, before you get married, please take yourselves to couples therapy with a licensed professional. We had premarital counseling with our pastor and it was great, but we had 3 sessions. I think we had 3. We may have only had 2 because I think he felt like we were in a good space and we understood, but a licensed clinician is going to ask you questions that I promise you your pastor will not ask. That does not mean you should not have that kind of counseling if you want it. Do both. But I think therapy is a great way to see where you're in alignment and where you're out of alignment. I think the last piece here for me is mentorship. Find you another couple that you can trust with your marriage. Just one.
Oh my goodness.
Just one.
Let me go ahead and just hop on in on that one.
We'll hop on in.
Let me just say this. You can't be a married brother, a married sister, and you got a single mentor. It does not work.
Help the people.
You cannot, let me say this. You're trying to open up a new business. You can't have a mentor that deal with other stuff. They don't deal with business.
That other stuff.
You know what I'm saying? He or she dealing with cooking cakes. That's not the business you in. So you can't have that. That's not your mentor. You can't have a mentor in a relationship and they ain't in it. How your relationship go? That's one of the biggest questions that we don't ask people. We should get a hint. If you divorce and they divorce, maybe we ain't need to talk about. Maybe you don't need to be my mentor. Okay. I'm trying not to go there, but okay.
If you decide on a married couple to mentor you, if they never tell you about their relationship, how do you feel about that? Because some people are full of advice and wisdom, but they never, ever share their experience with you about what they went through or when they have a disagreement, or they never talk to you about that.
Is that really mentoring then?
Oh, I don't think
Is that
so.
really guiding you then if you're not willing to talk about your mistakes, your downfalls, your shortcomings, your valleys, then you're not really mentoring me then.
Okay. No, I agree. I just wanted to ask you that because I believe that we have been around some people who were full of love and a heart to mentor, but never really shared anything about their experience. Let's be clear. The people I'm talking about are not the people that I think mentor us and love on us.
If everything is James Cleveland and Shirley Caesar, then no, you can't mentor me. A lot of folks want to keep it holiness the whole way through. Hey, that ain't, you know what I'm saying? You just helped me for 5 minutes, but I need more than that. You can't keep telling me everything come with a scripture you saying. And we talking to someone who's a pastor, someone who studies the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
That is great. That's good, but that's not all of me though. And I think sometimes people take their standing in Christ and put that in front of all of their faults and say that this is who I really am. No, that's not who you really are. And you're telling me I get nothing. I glean nothing from that. You're sharing a redeemed story to me. That's what you're sharing. Instead of sharing the whole story.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. And I just wanted to ask that question because I feel like while people don't have to fully disclose everything they've been through, I do think that's where that first myth for me that marriage is easy comes from. Because if I see rainbows and cupcakes and puppy dogs and little fairy babies, then
You said fairy babies?
Cherubs. I couldn't think of the word.
Okay. Fairy babies. I know. Ooh, where you was going with that?
Oh, Lord.
Fairy babies. Oh, Lord. She didn't went to the Zodiac. I don't know where she going.
Okay, I think we need to get off of this because this part has
fairy baby.
Gone off a little bit. Okay, let's do another myth. Toss one out, sir.
All right. Let me go ahead and give you another one. We said that it was easy. What about this? Marriage fixes loneliness.
Hashtag lies.
The lies you tell.
It does not.
Can I say something?
You can say whatever you like.
Yeah, it's my podcast, so I can say what I want. If you're lonely before marriage, you're going to be lonely after. That's just how I go.
Why?
Loneliness, to me, I may be wrong. I may be thinking too much into it, but loneliness starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel comfortable with you, yourself, and I, then you're not going to be able to be comfortable with nobody else.
You, yourself, and you.
Yeah, you, yourself, and I, however you want to say it. I don't want to say me, myself, and I because I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about me. You got to be able to. Very funny story. I play basketball, trying to play a little basketball, try to stay in a little shape on the weekends. And so yesterday I was out playing basketball at the park, and this young man
See, you about to tell me something I ain't heard because you didn't even tell me about it.
had some AirPods on, and he was dribbling the ball. And I was thinking he reminds me so much of myself being in the park by myself. I grew up with a park like 2 doors down from me. And they used to call it my park because I would be out there all the time, every time I could. And he was talking to himself as if he was playing with 4 other players.
Mm.
He was like, you got to give me the ball over here. You got to do this. I'm coming to dunk. I was thinking to myself, if you didn't know the game or you didn't know him, you would have thought, something wrong with him. He one of God's special children. But he was talking to himself, and I was thinking, you have to be in tune with yourself. You've got to be able to say, you know what? Boy, you need to go on out to a movie. Me and you need to go to a movie.
Sometimes you got to encourage yourself. Sometimes you got to have
The
conversations.
Bible says that David had to encourage himself. So you've got to be able to be in tune with that other side of you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do come to this marriage, when you do come to this relationship, you ain't looking at that other person. Ooh, I think I'm preaching. You ain't looking at that other person to be they gonna lift me up. No, you lift yourself up and you come to the relationship. You come to the new thing lifted up already. There ain't nothing you gonna really got it. So you're not looking for somebody else to be your pick me up because you pick your own self up. God picks you up. You come like that.
I think that's a good point because I'll put this out here. Even after you and I met, I struggled with self-esteem for a very long time, and every blue moon, it'll pick up. But one of the things I like to say to people, especially to women in particular, that's what is your internal dialogue? What are you saying to yourself? Because you can be in a room full of people and be completely lonely. You can feel all alone in a room full of people because you feel like nobody understands you, nobody appreciates you, nobody values what you bring to the table. But what are you saying to yourself about yourself? How are you hanging out with yourself? How do you value yourself? Those are the things that help you build, that attunement that you're talking about, where you are like, I'm in touch with myself. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know what kind of movies I want. And I'm okay being alone because there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is cured by somebody else being around.
Yeah. Talk to him.
But when you're okay being alone, that means, you know what? My life is fulfilled whether you're in it or not. My life is fulfilling whether I have this person or that person because God is the one who fills in that gap. I have no problem. I love I don't mind sitting down, having coffee by myself. I can watch a movie by myself. I don't have any problem with that. But there was a time when I did because I felt like I was being judged. And even when I was in a room full of people, I felt like if people weren't talking to me, then I was lonely. So I just think it's important to know that your inner dialogue will start to manifest on the outside. So if you walk into a room and going, you know what? I light up this room by myself. Whether anybody talks to me or not, I am good with me. That will start to play out on the outside. And to me, this is for anybody who's single, when you start to think that way, when you start to internalize that, when you start to really make that a foundational core belief about yourself, watch what happens. When you start to walk around feeling good about yourself without external validation being the only way you feel that way, you be beating them back off with a stick. Because there's something about someone who is secure in themselves, secure in how God created them, that is attractive to other people. And I think that, quite honestly, even though, y'all go back to season 1, even though my husband got on my nerves when I first met him, there was something about his belief in himself. You ain't got to look at me in that tone of voice, sir.
What you talking about?
I'm talking
you talking about me.
I was.
Oh,
His
no.
confidence was so much. I was like, y'all remember that song, Mr. Big Stuff? Who do you think you are?
I'm humble.
Big Stuff.
I'm humble, y'all. I'm humble.
He is humble, but he is
Humboldt County, not Humboldt, but humble. Yeah, there we go. I want y'all to get it right. Humble.
don't
Humility.
overtalk me because I'm telling truth about you. My
No,
husband is so
I
confident
don't know no truth in that.
that it borders
No, no,
on cocky, but that was attractive. I couldn't ignore him.
You gotta love yourself, though. You gotta love yourself. You gotta be
I'm
able
close,
to,
honey. You was baby,
huh? You gotta love yourself, though.
baby.
I'm gonna say it again to somebody out there. Might be some of my brothers. You gotta love yourself.
Baby, you do,
You can't let them. No.
baby.
I will not be stopped. You gotta love yourself. You can't.
Anyway,
You know what I'm saying? Everybody want to get with this. You gotta tell them.
I think you're telling yourself at this point.
You gotta have some unconventional moments where you have to say some things to yourself. That's it. Let's move on.
You finished?
No, I'm just telling you, you gotta love yourself. You gotta love yourself.
I'm doing the next
Nobody
one.
gonna love you. Ain't nobody gonna love you like God, but you gotta love
So you
yourself
all
too.
know what I mean. Now, see, he just proved my point, but that is okay. I love you and your confident self, sir. You are.
Look here, no, seriously. Now, see, that opens up another part of this. What is wrong with being confident about yourself?
Nothing. There is nothing.
When I wasn't married and I was a single man, I'm moving. Ain't nobody better than me. I don't see it. And I don't say that to somebody in their face, but you have to have that kind of feeling about yourself that nobody is better than me. Wait a minute, what my wife, see, she don't want me to go here. What my wife didn't tell you was when I first met my wife and I introduced her to my friends, she sat up at the table and said this to them. Here it goes. I'm going to tell you. Wait a minute. She said, ain't nobody going to outwoman me when it comes to LaShawn. What that sound like to you? What that sound like? That sound like confidence.
Say it again for the people in the back so they can hear.
Ain't nobody going to outwoman me
No woman.
when it comes to LaShawn. Now, y'all take that how you want to take it, but when she said it, my eye twitched a little bit. Oh, Lord, what's wrong with this girl? We in trouble. We got problems. She just said that in front of everybody. I would never say this, but she said it. I get it, but she didn't tell you that side of it.
Okay, wait. Now I'm tongue tied. When I said that, because I did say it and I meant
That's a
it.
bold statement.
To this day, I
That's a bold statement.
10 toes
I love
down.
her for it, but it's a bold statement.
Okay, so what was bold about it?
The boldness of it was, I'm that woman. I'm that woman for him. I'm the woman for him. Nobody's going to. That's what I mean by confidence. You come to the relationship with, ain't nobody bad like me.
Ain't nobody been. Oh,
There
sorry.
it go. You know what I'm saying? Nobody is me. If this is what God has put, wait, the old pastor talking, if God has put this together, then you come to the relationship with, ain't nobody. Nah, ain't nobody gonna do it like me. Ain't nobody gonna love you like me, except for God.
That belief has grown exponentially. Nobody tell me anything about you. But to go to where we started at, y'all, that's where that coming into the relationship with regard to work, right? That it's not easy. But I study him. He study me. People could tell me what they want to tell me about him. They don't nobody know him like I do. So anyway, we have had our moments of patting ourselves on the back. Okay, so here's one for you, sweetheart. Second marriages are doomed to fail. Oh.
You cannot keep looking at statistics. I'm going to say that for our audience. You cannot look at statistics and allow that to sway or dictate what God is putting in place.
Okay, say more.
If you look at statistics, more than 50% of second-time marriages fail.
So it's 50% of first marriages fail, and I think the statistic goes up to 70% of all.
Okay.
I'm not at y'all, so I'll come back with the actual statistic.
So to
but
me,
70% of second marriages fail. So you know what that means for a third marriage.
right. So I joke a lot, but this is the part of the podcast where I'm not joking, is that what does that tell you? If 50% of first-time marriages fail and then more than 70% of second-time marriages fail, that tells me that broken people are being married to each other. That's what that tells me. That tells me that people are not being healed from what they've gone through in their past. And they're bringing it to a marriage and thinking that the marriage is the place to work it out. No, we cannot do that.
Can I just interrupt you and pat myself on the back? Because I did just look up the statistic, because what I don't want to do is ever put out misinformation, because that's not what we hear. So 60 to 67% of second marriages end in divorce. I just wanted to put that out there. That's the statistics. And there are those that are not going to make it. But I agree with you that it's likely because you're coming in with that jadedness. You're coming in with that brokenness into a second marriage. And that can act as, to use something somebody said once to me in session, if you all, I forget the name of the show now, but it could be like the Wall of the North. What's that show, honey?
I don't know.
Oh, Lord.
Wall of the North.
Yeah, with the Targaryens and all that stuff. What's the name of that show?
Oh my gosh, I don't. Ooh, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I don't. It'll come to us.
I know, right? Anyway, it's like putting up the Wall of the North when you come into a marriage with being jaded. Game of Thrones. Ha-ha.
Game of Thrones. There you go, because it was getting ready to bother me.
Right, that part. So the Wall of the North was this barrier between the creepy crawly ice people and the safety of the kingdom. So think about that. Like, we put that in perspective of God's kingdom. When you come in and you're all walled up, you don't even allow God to come in and do the restorative and redemptive work on yourself so that he can restore you as an individual. And then you can go into another relationship, hopefully healthy, healed, recovered.
But we don't take the time. And I say we, because we've all been in that position where, well, I thought I got it all out, but it's not all out. In the early years of our marriage, we've only been married 10 years, which is starting to become a pretty long time.
We get into OG status.
Yeah. But in the beginning, there were some incidents or there were some situations where I was treating Michaela like my past. I was thinking about the past relationship in the present tense. And there were some times where we had to say, hey, let's stop. I'm not that person. You're directing that towards that person, and I'm not that person. And what I fear, if I could step out on that ledge with our listeners, is that I fear many times we are proceeding in a new relationship with old relationships on our mind. Ain't nobody gonna hurt me like that no more. This ain't gonna happen to me. I wish would. I thought about Cedric the Entertainer. I wish it would mess around with me. We're already lacing up boxing gloves before we even get into the relationship. We're already hiding our weapons. Just in case something happened.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna let that go on.
Baby, could you give the folks just some words of hope and encouragement about how that doesn't have to become their story? Like, if you draw from our story, what you would share that would be words of encouragement.
Wow. If I had to give you words of encouragement, it's basically taking everything that we've talked about in this segment, is that you have to give grace. That's the first thing, is that you've got to give grace enough to say or to recognize, hey, that's not about me. That's about somebody else. Communication is where you recognize that. Tell me what you're feeling right now. Tell me what's going on with you right now, where you're at, because you're not here. You're not here in this present situation. You're somewhere else. You're back at 8 years old. You back at 16. You back at 21 with the ex person that hurt your heart. Each of you have to have that. Each of you have to have that heart enough to say, wait a minute, hold on a minute. This ain't about me. This is about something else. But here's the other part. Sometimes, and I know my therapist will agree with me, my therapist at home and my therapist that I see will agree with me.
You mean me?
Yeah, that it's about you sometimes. Sometimes it is about you.
It is.
Sometimes it is about you. And you have to be able to recognize when it is about you.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to allow a freedom in both lanes
Mm-hmm.
where each of you can say, you know what? Let's stop a minute. This ain't about me. Or you know what? That does sound a lot like me.
Time out. I need a time I can go.
And I need a timeout. I need to not walk away and get my keys and walk out. Let's sit here for a second and sit in it and work it out together. Because when you get married, ooh, see, we don't have enough time for all this. But when you get married, you're not in it by yourself.
Facts.
I can't leave you to yourself to worry about it. We've got to be able to sit in it together and say, we both gonna get out of this together.
Mm-hmm.
When you get out, I'm getting out. I'm not getting out before you.
Right.
I'm not gonna leave you stranded
I love it.
in this.
I love it.
We're gonna get out together. I think we might have made it. No, you still in it? Okay, well, let me go ahead and stay in it too, because we're gonna get out together. When you take that approach to marriage, that we're in this together. You hurt, I hurt. We hurt together.
When I move, you move.
Yeah, just like that. We're going to be victorious together.
Together.
We can't leave one another stranded in hurt, harm, danger, misunderstanding, brokenhearted. We can't leave each other in that. If you in it, then I'm in it too. Well, you know, I had this situation with my father in the beginning. Well, then you know what? I got a situation that I'm going to be in it with you. We're going to get out of this together. I'm praying for you, baby, whatever I can do for you. And I know we didn't mean to go this way. My wife asked me one simple question and I blew it into a whole big old thing.
That's
But
good.
I think it's very important for our listeners to understand that that is where Christ comes into your life. That is where the maturity of being a believer comes into your life.
Mm-hmm.
When you begin to realize that, you know what? This is what God has given me. God has placed this person in my life. And because God has placed this person in my life, that person is part of my life.
That person is me.
There it go, right there. I couldn't say it better than that.
Benediction. Anyway, should we tap on this last myth about submission?
Yeah, definitely. Let's tap on it. Let's tap on it.
Because I hear this one a lot. Here's the myth, is that submission equates or is synonymous with silence.
I don't think so.
Snaps for you.
I do think that in some cases, your silence shows a strength, but
Trust.
submission is not silent.
I think we need to talk a little bit about the fact that submission does not mean that one spouse is dominant over the other. I do think submission is more about trust. I think submission is more about trust, especially for a woman, because in order for me to be able to take a step back and say, I'm going to defer to what you say or what you think or what direction you have discerned that we should go in. That means that I trust you, because the Bible says that husbands are supposed to love their wives and wives are supposed to respect their husbands. Women cannot respect men if they don't trust them. Period. Dot. There is no respect. If I can't say I'm going to sleep and I know when I get up in the morning, everything is everything. If I go to sleep and I get up in the morning and the lights are still on and the internet works and my cars are still here because you said you took care of it and everything is still doing what it's supposed to do, then I can rest in that. I can trust that. I think that submission is, even if it shows up as silence, it just means I trust you enough that I ain't got to say no. That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
I also think that submission, I just want to say two things and then we have to run. Submission is not a one-way street.
Aha.
That's the first thing. Submission is not a one-way street. because I am a man, because I am a male, because I have this dominant view of I'm going to take care of everything. You don't have to do nothing. Submission is not a one-way street. The second thing I want to drop on you is submission is part of leadership. Said Duke graduated. It's that Duke coming out. That Duke Blue Devils PhD coming out. Submission is part of leadership.
Uh-huh. Say more.
The strongest leaders, the best leaders, at some point in their leadership need to submit to someone else. That makes you the greatest leader when you are able to say, not my will, but your will.
Yes.
This time, I will step back. This time, what did John say? I will decrease so you can increase.
Yes. So good.
Doesn't make you a less of a person for you to say, I take 2 steps back for you to shine. And as a husband, you love doing that. I love saying, you know what? No. It's this girl over here. It ain't me, it's her. I have a saying, and we're getting close to our time. I have a saying that I am just the car. I might be the nicest car. I might be the Bentley, the Rolls Royce. But to have a Bentley and Rolls Royce, you got to have an engine. And if you don't have an engine in the Bentley or Rolls Royce, it's just sitting up there. It's just a car. It looked pretty on the outside. And I say my wife is the engine that runs this car. If I don't have my wife, I ain't going too far. It's just sitting there in the driveway, undrivable. And I know someone's out there saying that's a lot. No, for real. Think about that. Without your wife, without your spouse should be the person that you're in a relationship with that drives you, that makes you go. If you don't have that in your life, then you got to think about why. Why not? If you're dating people who are not driving you, and I mean driving, not running you around crazy, but I mean driving as in making you say, I don't want to sit here anymore. I want to move. I want to do some things with my life. I want to get out here. That's what I mean by engine that drives you. All right. If I give you any more, then it's got to be on Patreon. I'm sorry. We got to have a paid subscription if I give you some more about that. But I'm playing.
Stop it. I'll never do well when you do that. I'll say this, and then I think I'll close us out here because this was a great topic. And I think we could stay on here forever with this, but in everything we do, we like to do it in decency and in order and with respect to your time, because you might be listening to this on your lunch hour. So I will say this. I do think a misunderstanding of submission can absolutely positively destroy and dismantle a marriage. Because if you don't look at submission as a form of trust, as a form of love, as a form of appreciation, then I believe you've got this whole thing mixed up in terms of biblically how it was supposed to be applied. I do think it can dismantle, but I also think it can lift up. I give you a really interesting scenario. Like sometimes my husband is a great navigator. GPS, no GPS. He can go someplace 2-3 times and that's it. He's got it. And sometimes we're in the car and he'll take a lap here and he'll take a left here and he'll take a right there. I don't ever worry about us getting where we're supposed to go. And he always says to me, baby, I thank you for rolling with me. Sometimes I don't remember the exact directions. And I tell him all the time, I don't really worry about that because I know that you're going to get us there. So that's to me what submission is like. I'm rolling with my person because this person has a proven track record of getting where we need to go. Okay, so I think it's so important we're going to close out here, but I want y'all to know that we love you. We appreciate you. We are so glad to be back. We are so glad to be in the lab, so to speak. So what I'm going to do is I am going to ask my amazing, incredible, handsome, powerful, intelligent, creative husband if he would let the people know if they want to send us a message, if they want to give us feedback, if they want to ask us more questions about this topic, where can they reach us?
Ooh, you can reach us on all of your podcast, obviously, stations. And then you also can reach us at Podbean. Podbean is where we run our podcast through. So it would be the second time around podcast. And it'll pull us right up. You get to see some of our season one or hear our season one, and also where you can listen to this season two. But at the same time, we have an email address, which is 2x@judahinthegrove.com. So what that is the second time around at judahinthegrove.com. Please send us your feedback. You don't hurt our feelings. We want to be better at this podcast, and we want to give you what's helpful to you, not just your mental, but what's helpful to your soul. That's so important for me and Michaela, to give you what's important for your soul. So there may be something that we're talking about that may not hit the soul. Please let us know. What else do we need to talk about? Can we go further with that topic? Can we break it into something else? 2x@judahinthegrove.com. Okay?
Fantastic. Well, we love you, family, and we're so glad that you hung out with us again. I actually think that we may somewhere have some bonus content on this topic that you can access. So we'll put that out there in the show notes for you. But there's so much that we didn't touch on. So we'll either make that bonus content or part two. We'll talk about that and we'll see what's going to happen. But
Definitely.
For now, we pray that you are happy. We pray that you are healthy. But most of all, we pray that you thrive. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you for joining us this week. We look forward to continuing the conversation with you in our next episode.
I will put you first, even when we're going through the worst. Our love is better the second time around. I will put you first, even when we're going through the worst.